Yeah, it's in Gaelic.
Okay, today is September 20th. It is 7 p.m. This is the Riverside School District 96 regular business meeting. Kathy, can you call the roll?
Sure. Mr. Barsadi?
Present.
Ms. Gunn?
Here.
Ms. Kalick?
Here.
Mr. Murhol?
Here.
Mr. Hunt?
Here.
Ms. Claps?
Here.
And Mr. Muirhead?
Here.
Okay, quorum is present.
All right. Do we have any public comment tonight?
We check here. We do not.
Okay. Are there any changes to the agenda as presented in board book? Nope. Okay. Then that moves us into the superintendent's report. I'll just pass it over to you.
All right, thanks, Wesley. And I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Angela Dozel tonight, who has some of our new teachers here to be introduced, and we just want to welcome you. We've welcomed you a few times. I've had the opportunity to welcome you to District 96, but our board has not had an opportunity to officially welcome you. So a few are here in person, and all will be represented through their trading cards, which you're about to see. So, not that they're open for eligible for trade, though.
They are not eligible for trade, no. So we're really excited this year. Don Tefano worked through the work he's doing with Goal 3, retaining and recruiting a diverse workforce. Don came up with a great idea of having our new staff members create a trading card that represents them. And so we have that for our new staff members who were able to join us tonight, but then we also have it so that you can meet our new staff members who were not able to join us tonight. So we'll start with our new staff members from Ames Elementary School. First we have Joe Romano. Joe Romano is our physical education teacher at Ames. As you can see here, he hails from Norridge, Illinois, is a Green Bay Packers fan, has hobbies such as bowling, softball, working out, and listening to music. If you ever want to treat him to a gift card, he likes Longhorn Steakhouse, likes to visit the Wisconsin Dells, country music, coffee's his drink of choice in the morning, and if he was not in education, he would have been a pro athlete. Welcome, Joe. Next, we have Lynn Zabilka. Lynn is a fourth grade teacher at Ames as well. Lynn hails from Frankfort, Illinois. Favorite place to vacation is Portland, Oregon, where her sister and her future sister-in-law live. She likes to hike, creative writing, reading, crocheting, and enjoys Friends, Parks and Rec, and Ted Lasso. Her favorite snack are potato chips. And fun fact, she played the French horn in middle school and high school. Her morning beverage choice is tea, and if she was not a fourth grade teacher, she would be a dolphin trainer or a fashion designer. Welcome, Lynn. At Blythe Park Elementary School, our new teacher is Meredith Land. Meredith hails from LaGrange Park, Illinois, and her favorite sports team are the Mizzou Tigers and the Chicago Blackhawks. She enjoys yoga and reading and going to Portillo's, so luckily she is working right down the street from it. Favorite travel destination, anywhere at the beach. She enjoys pop country music, and her morning beverage choice is also tea. And if Meredith was not a fifth grade teacher at Blythe Park, she would have been an Olympian.
What sport?
Right? I'm curious about Joe's sport and Meredith's Olympian.
So I was a soccer player. I played college soccer, so I don't think I was good enough to go pro in soccer, but if I was, probably soccer.
Okay.
I'd say swimming. I swam for a long time.
Oh, cool. I love
There we
swimming.
Yeah, Michael Phelps is really inspirational.
And then at Central Elementary School, unfortunately our Central people were not able to join us tonight, but we have Jen Halusek, who is a second grade teacher at Central Elementary School. Jen hails from Riverside, Illinois, didn't have to travel far. She's a Chicago Cubs fan, enjoys spending time with her family and playing volleyball. Her favorite restaurant is Lalo's, likes to travel to Cancun, Mexico, and enjoys pop music. Her morning beverage choice is coffee. And you might start to see a theme here. She also would have liked to have been a dolphin trainer.
She was a dolphin trainer.
Was she a dolphin trainer? She not only would have liked to have been, she actually was. I'm going to have to talk to her about that one. This is a bit of information for all of us.
Yeah.
Kelly Duval is our librarian media specialist at Central and Hollywood. Kelly hails from Naperville, Illinois. She's a Chicago Cubs fan, enjoys watching baseball, which is good since she's a Cubs fan, and reading. Her favorite restaurant is the Bavarian Lodge, and her favorite travel destination is Hilton Head Island. She enjoys 80s music, who doesn't? And her favorite morning beverage is the Dollar Cokes from McDonald's. Had she not been our library media specialist at Central and Hollywood, she would be a sports broadcaster, probably for baseball. And at Hollywood, we have Miss Lauren Dryansky. Miss Lauren Dryansky is a first grade teacher at Hollywood. She hails from Crete, Illinois, is also a Chicago Cubs fan, enjoys hiking, baking, cooking, and painting. Her favorite restaurant is Luca's, likes to travel to Mexico. She likes alternative indie music, and any flavored cold brew is her morning beverage of choice. Had Lauren not been a first grade teacher at Hollywood, she would be an otter trainer. Welcome, Lauren. And then we talked about Miss Duell. Kelly is at Central and Hollywood. Hauser is our school that had the most hires this year, and it's also a school that sadly nobody was able to make it. But here we go. Brian Black is our general music choir teacher at Hauser. He hails from Libertyville, Illinois, is also a Chicago Cubs fan, enjoys downhill skateboarding, building skateboards, and video games. His favorite restaurant is Mott Street, and his favorite travel destination is Asheville, North Carolina. He enjoys pop, rock, and coffee as his morning beverage of choice. Brian also would have been a pro soccer player. Maybe him and Joe would have met up. Kimberly Bolden is our ALAP advocate at Hauser. Hails from Maywood, Illinois, Chicago Cubs fan. Retail therapy is her hobby of choice, and self-care. Her favorite restaurant is New Star Hibachi, and she likes to travel to the Bahamas, enjoys 90s R&B. A caramel crunch frappuccino is her morning beverage of choice, and if she was not working as an ALAB advocate, she would be an actor. Allison Buzzard is our 6th, 7th, 8th grade visual arts teacher at Hauser. She hails from Aurora, Illinois, enjoys cooking and visiting art shows, enjoys Perry's Steakhouse in Oak Brook, likes to travel to New Orleans, likes neo-soul music, and she also enjoys a good caramel ribbon crunch frappuccino. I think that a frappe and a frappuccino are the same. I don't drink coffee, so I'm not sure. If she was not our art teacher here at Hauser, she'd be an artist. I think she found like her joy, her happy place. Chelsea Gildow is our 7th and 8th grade science teacher at Hauser. She hails from Littleton, Colorado, is a Cincinnati Bengals fan, enjoys reading, dancing, traveling, also likes Luca's. Her favorite travel destination is Jackson Hole, Wyoming. She likes pop music. A hazelnut latte is her morning beverage of choice. And if she was not teaching 7th grade science, she would either be a rockette and or a Broadway musical choreographer. Laura Laguerre is a 6th and 8th grade English language arts teacher here at Hauser. She hails from Westchester, Illinois, likes David Sedaris, likes reading, cycling, and Pilates. The cellar door is her favorite hangout, and traveling to New York is her favorite destination. Her favorite music is yacht rock, and her morning beverage of choice is tea. And she definitely found her place, as she is her childhood occupational aspiration, which is a teacher. Lena Mackley hails from Lockport, Illinois. Lena is an 8th grade English teacher here at Hauser. Hails from Lockport, Illinois, is a Chicago Bears fan, enjoys reading, weightlifting, and hiking. Likes to go to Mojo's. Favorite travel destination is Hawaii. Her favorite music genre is alternative rock. Her morning beverage of choice is black coffee. And if she was not an English teacher at Hauser, she would have been a ballerina. Jennifer Altraghi is our 7th grade special education teacher, hails from Brookfield, Illinois, is a Chicago Sky WNBA fan, enjoys basketball, hiking, reading, likes the restaurant Posto 31, travel anywhere. She just likes to travel. 80s and 90s music are her genre of choice, and she enjoys a good Americano in the morning. If she had not been a special education teacher at Hauser, she wanted to be a marine biologist. Chris, not a nickname guy, Prokop, is a 6th grade ELA teacher at Hauser who hails from Brookville, is a Chicago Cubs fan, enjoys watching sports, card and board games, and reading. His favorite restaurant is also Portillo's. And his favorite travel destination is Newfoundland. His favorite music genre, he'd rather listen to sports talk than music. And his favorite morning beverage is an iced red eye. If he was not an ELA teacher at Hauser, he would have been a stand-up comic. And if you ever get a chance to meet Chris, I think he's kind of got that as a side gig going on right now. Sarah Venegas is our math interventionist at Hauser, hails from Berwyn, Illinois, is also a Chicago Cubs fan, enjoys gardening, crafting, and running, loves, it says Zen Sushi, having lived right behind it, it's Zen Sushi, really good sushi restaurant if you ever get a chance to go on Oak Park Avenue in Oak Park. Favorite travel destination is, I'm going to mess that up.
Oaxaca, I think.
Oaxaca, Mexico, thank you. Favorite music genre is cumbia. Favorite morning beverage, coffee. And if she was not a math interventionist, she would have been an art teacher, giving Allison a run for her money. And that brings us to the end of our new teachers. I hope you guys enjoyed the trading cards. Really excited with Don's and his team's idea, and something that we plan to carry through into the upcoming school years as well. And just thank you again to our new teachers for taking time out tonight to be here for the board members to see you. We are very excited to have you join the District 96 family, and you guys are rocking it already. So thank you.
Thanks so much.
Come in.
Did you have questions?
Just like for the student presenters, do you have questions for the new teachers? You're right.
I know we're kind of in the early stages of planning that social
Yeah.
event, so hopefully more info to come, but hopefully it's something that you all can attend in a more casual setting, and we can also get to know you there more informally.
I think the invitation's going out tomorrow, so yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have a social on the day of Institute Day, October 10th, after. Yeah.
Yeah, now someone was a Mizzou fan, I think. Is that where you went?
Yeah, I did go to University of Missouri.
Okay, great. That's actually where my daughter, my 18-year-old, just went as a freshman.
It's a great school. She'll love it.
She's loving it so far,
And the
definitely.
football team's good, so I'm sure it's fun too. Just played for once.
It's surprisingly, yeah, they weren't
Yeah.
supposed to be good, but they've won a few games so far.
Excited to hear all about what she thinks.
Yeah.
Oh, she's having a ball.
And Meredith said, bless you guys can check in about that.
Yeah, I was figuring at some point Harrison would probably chime in, so I
Yeah,
figured
yeah,
I'd preempt
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
So to say, I wouldn't have put it on here for my childhood occupation, but thinking back on it, I wanted to be a marine biologist myself for a very long time when I was younger. So I don't know, something about this district has a theme there with the marine
Maybe
animals
close
and
to the
everything.
zoo, I
So,
don't
yeah.
know.
That's not from the Seinfeld episode, though, right?
No. I wasn't watching Seinfeld at the time when I thought I was going to be a marine biologist. I was going to move to Florida and sit on the ocean. And, yeah, it's a lot harder than that. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And you guys are more than welcome to stay for our board meeting, but if you have other things you need to tend to,
You're more
other
than
people,
welcome.
you are free to leave.
All right,
You're
thanks
welcome.
for coming.
Welcome.
And Angela, we had talked about mentoring and induction, but is there anything else you want to share just about the program, or?
Have a good night. Thank you.
We talked about at last meeting,
We
right?
did talk
Yeah.
about it last week. It's going well. Monday, we had our first meeting with our new teachers, talked a little bit about setting climate and culture routines in your classroom and finding your marigold. It's an activity that Sarah Hickey does at the beginning of the year, just really being cognizant about finding those people that bring you up and that support you, and watching out for walnut trees, the people who are might always, not always, because we don't have people who are always negative in District 96, but the people who might be negative about a certain thing or other, like watching out for those walnut trees and looking for your marigolds in your profession and in your life in general. So we did that on Monday, as well as talked about the evaluation process, and then today we met with the mentors and talked about one of the things our mentors do with our new teachers is they observe each other. So our new teachers will observe our mentors will observe our new teachers and provide feedback. And so today with our mentors, we talked about active listening and practice active listening and listening to give feedback, not to fix or respond to things. So we're off to a great start, and we do have a great group of new teachers who are just eager to learn about District 96. A lot of them already have significant numbers of teaching experience, and so they don't necessarily need a lot of the classroom management type things you might do with a first or second year teacher. But there are things that are just about the District 96 culture and climate that we work on, and they've just been really eager and participatory in the activities we've done. So great group to work with, and I'm excited to see them grow this year. Thank you.
Just moving on to a couple other items. The next one is just sort of some thoughts about chronic absenteeism. Actually, a couple of you had asked me, because as you know, this is really a piece of information that's very much in the national spotlight of this idea that attendance rates have really dropped during the pandemic, since the pandemic. And so what we wanted to do is take a kind of a snapshot view of our absenteeism. And then, as you know, we had identified attendance as one of the key performance indicators around social emotional learning. And I even recall a year ago, I think when we were first looking at that, it was like, is that a problem here? And I think our sense was, not really. Historically, it hasn't. We'll continue to leave it, obviously, as a KPI, and so that'll give also all of you an opportunity to have more regular updates when we update in Goal 2, and certainly when we look at it again at the end of this year. But it is interesting because I think what you can see here is that things have changed quite a bit since the pandemic. And again, just doing that snapshot of looking at our 2018-2019 school year and then looking at the 22-23 school year, which was just last year. Again, snapshot in time, and then I also wanted to provide you just with some context about state level. So like with a lot of things, the state in some ways isn't the comparison group that we really want to look at. You can see that our attendance rates are certainly better than they are at the entire state level, but even within our own district, you could say that their numbers have essentially doubled since prior to the pandemic. A little bit of variation school to school. I know some of you have asked if there's an understanding of what's causing that. I think it's, and again, it was part of a webinar this afternoon talking about the same issue, that acknowledging that there was a public health piece, that there were still children with COVID that were having to take 5 days away from school, depending again on the day that your COVID was identified. So there is sort of real illness, I think, embedded in all that. As you know, we also were kind of less sympathetic to illness. You know, I think there used to be the day where take some Tylenol and come to school anyway, and I think our school nurses and our entire team was like, you're sick, you need to stay away because it could be COVID, and just the idea of contagious illness became something I think everybody was much more serious about. Also at this starting last year, that this idea of mental health days as an allowable absence, which I think we're very supportive of, and we know that there are children that have mental health struggles. But there is some sense that also maybe that made it too easy, that sometimes staying away, we know that kids with school refusal or school anxiety, sometimes the worst thing for them is to be staying away from school. So I think our principals all feel that there's definitely a mental health component that is baked into the absences there. Yeah, so.
Those mental health days, I forgot what they are. It's like once a month or something?
It's five. It's 5 all year.
5 years,
Okay.
okay.
And I think what the principals would just share with you anecdotally is by allowing some, which felt like the right thing to do, and it was a state decision, maybe opens the door also to more. You know, so it's still always a parent's prerogative to call a child in for an excused absence for illness, mental health or other physical illness. So. Again, it's been interesting. The principals, I think you probably all heard if you were at a parent night, I think the principals really kind of honed in on attendance as a very important message for all parents. I think it's something we've done in the past, but I think the principals felt perhaps that they were being more explicit about it, more passionate about it. This importance of just being present in school is so important. And I think that's a really important, we kind of talk about universal or tier 1 messages that, you know, we really want kids in school, obviously. But also I think for kids that have then greater struggles, we talk about sort of increasing our intensity of supports. Our social workers are available to meet with kids that are struggling with school attendance. We've hired on a case-by-case basis, we work with LADSI, our special ed co-op. They have what they call RAP workers who are in a position to work directly with families in kind of a multitude of ways. We also hired, as you know, the ALOP advocate through West 40 for the first time, just at Hauser this year, but looking at how that model, and that model is really designed to support school attendance overall. And then for children that have missed school, the other part of the design with the ALOP advocate, and it would be true for teachers really across our district, is helping kids get caught up. Because, you know, for a lot of children too, it's once they start to miss several days of school, that idea of falling behind or feeling like they're in a hole, sometimes that makes it then harder to come back. Sort of unfortunately and ironically, that being away, as we said, sometimes is the hardest part of it all. So I appreciated the questions coming from the board. I think it's important for us to recognize and acknowledge this and to really give it some thought. I've shared the same data with the principals. We've had some great conversations about it. I think our principals are very aware of children that can fall into that more chronic absentee situation and thinking about different ways to address it. Any questions about it?
I would say, I know from time to time you share data like this, you know, with the high school and with other feeder schools. And I think it would definitely be interesting from our standpoint to see how we're comparing to the other feeder districts and to RB as well as RB themselves. And I mean, honestly, that it wouldn't, I'm almost feel like I'm giving somebody a job here, but it would seem like an action group or someone to get together to come up with strategies on you know, what amongst the districts, what are the common reasons for something like this?
Yeah.
And is there a way to address some of these?
Yeah, and we could certainly, so chronic absenteeism is a number that's published in the state report card now, so it is something that we could pull other districts' data. I know Nora, through like the LADSI special ed directors, they're often a group that are looking at some of this because certainly some of the mental health overlap and the role of social workers in particular in this. Also, I wonder if through West 40, through the ALOP program, if they may also have some data that would be valuable for us to look at. So
But you're right. I definitely recall this coming up before, and it was never really an issue for us here. And honestly, I was really surprised to see the numbers have spiked so much. I guess looking at them in relation to the state numbers is somewhat. I guess we're not as bad as the rest of the state, but still
but
much
doubling
worse
on our own. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Just to make sure I'm understanding, so the chronic absenteeism by definition is kind of like the number here. What we see is the number of students who have missed 10% or more of the instructional day. So of 175 or 6, so something like 17.
And actually it's the number, and this is good data. I was thinking the same thing. It's 17 and a half days, or is it 17.6? You know, but it's some children may not have been enrolled even the full. So it's 10% of the period of time which they were enrolled.
In which they and then does this pull in? So now that I have a child at Hauser and see like the different codes for absenteeism, so excused, you know, unexcused. So this pulls any type of absenteeism, whether excused or inexcused. And so what does it, just out of curiosity, what would an inexcused one be? Like they never hear from families?
Yeah, I think it's pretty rare that we really have a truly unexcused absence. To me, an unexcused absence is a child out wandering the streets that nobody knows where they are. And we don't let that happen, because if we don't hear from a family, we're calling the family, and if they don't know where their child is, we're engaging the police and you know, I mean, that child's going to be found. And so an unexcused absence is kind of a rarity. So even an excused absence, so that's what I said, this data even includes children that are legitimately ill. They needed to be away from school, but they were away from school, right? And that's, I think, like even in this webinar today, they're saying like, if you're not here, you can't learn. I mean, you can. They talked about like, you know, how learning management systems and other things have helped children sort of stay connected or stay caught up. We're not doing the Zoom, as you know, anymore. That was very much a COVID world thing. So there are ways to sort of stay connected to maybe the assignments. Teachers are good about organizing assignments, you know, from elementary all the way on up. So teachers don't want kids to fall behind either. But being physically present is very, very different than even completing that assignment at home.
Consider creative ways to encourage student attendance. So, you know, I know kids are very motivated by
being able to wear pajamas to school, or, you know, whatever it may be, filling their marble jar if everyone is in class, or, you know, things like that that can sort of, I know, over the past couple years, GATS has always communicated at Central to the parents at at the open house that student attendance is important, but maybe that's not enough, you know, and maybe emails just aren't enough. Like, if we can come up with creative ways in the classroom to sort of encourage students to be there. I don't know. Being out, having 15% of the kids in some schools be out, or in 2 schools specifically be out, is for more than 10% of the time is sort of shocking.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I think we were surprised. Selena, some was your question. You know, how much of a problem is this compared to what we're hearing on sort of, you know, regionally, state, and national level? And this is a problem here, and I absolutely appreciate the idea around incentives. A lot of, you know, individual students. So sometimes it will boil down to an individual situation, and there can be a lot of sort of unique, kind of just problem solving and kind of even behavioral incentives to put in place. The Hauser program in particular, they did, actually Chris Harvalis, even before he was assistant principal, it started as, I think, a graduate student project really looking at just tardies, right? Because tardies can have the same impact. You can miss your whole first period or maybe even more, and just really being there. This idea of really just like greeting kids, connecting with kids, letting them know that it's very important to see them. It's great to see them. We want them here. And then, you know, again, kind of that informal problem solving. Is there a reason? You know, confidentially, privately, it's everything from helping kids get an alarm clock to, you know, sometimes it's about food insecurity, sometimes it's about clothing. So again, I think there's a lot of ways that supportive staff and supportive school community really tries to address it. It's probably not any one single cause, but I'd have to go back and ask the elementary principals about more of the incentives or even classroom incentives. Nora, you're looking like, do you know like about attendance incentives or maybe some unique or individual case by case situations?
I don't know necessarily any that are in place right now. I think just when I think of the students, just like I think about stuff I had that have more chronic absenteeism, it's not necessarily always a matter of just incentivizing. There's kind of external factors that are also at play that are more towards that individual problem.
Yeah.
I would be interested to know on these numbers. Because I'm not saying it's not a problem, but I guess I'd be interested to know how much of it is, I guess, stuff within our control. And when I say that, it's like, are the kids sick? I mean, how much of it, like, if a kid's sick 20 days a year, is 15 of it because the kid's sick, or is it 5 because they're mental health days or what have you? So
Yeah. And I don't know
think
how
that would like help us
yeah.
understand better
Yeah.
how to approach this, because if it's the kid's sick, there's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for us to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big. I mean, we can't really control that.
Yeah.
I guess just a comment on that is, you would think that the near doubling in some schools wouldn't, over the last couple of years, wouldn't occur, right? Like you would think that there'd be a fairly consistent number over time of students who really need to be in school versus sick, right? So like the doubling of is where it seems like it's sort of out of line.
Yeah.
Count that, but I guess what Martha said, and I mean, I know this from my own personal experience. Our kids are sick, we're keeping them home before like if they had like a sniffle or something, or they're coughing, we go give them Tylenol or cough medicine so they get to school. Now it's like, give them a COVID test, they don't come back negative, they're still not feeling well, we're going to keep them home because we don't want then everyone else to
Yeah.
So
How often is this number pulled?
So we pulled it based on, we don't sort of pull it in this same way and study it. We had decided we would put attendance as kind of that large aggregate number. I think in looking at attendance, really what we really want to understand is absenteeism, which again, it's the inverse, right? If we're seeing that 90% or whatever number it might be have strong attendance. There's so much to this, like, you know, back to the illness piece too. Like even school nurses are starting to say, you know, sniffle's okay. you know, a sniffle's okay because I think we were
Yeah.
saying during the COVID, like, nope, sniffle's not even okay. A sneeze is not okay. You know what? A sniffle and a sneeze is okay. You know, not a fever, not vomiting. You know, I mean, so we're trying to shift our own messaging a little bit, and
Yeah,
that's tricky.
That's kind of why I'm
Yeah.
asking, because I'd be curious. Like, I don't want to minimize it, but I don't want to overreact to one number. Because if you look,
Yeah.
you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of data here: 6, 9, 3, 4, 14. So 4 to 14 is more than doubling. 9 to 14 would be less than doubling. But that's a huge increase. But I think your gut reaction to that kind of makes sense. If you look at 2019 to 2020, the spring of 2020 is when COVID hit. Everybody went home. So it looks like we were on a pretty good trajectory going from 9 to 3 that particular year. The next year, we had, a hybrid environment. So half the kids went to school in the morning and then the afternoon, and everybody else was Zoom. So everybody's masked. Interesting phenomenon that, a lot of other illnesses kind of disappeared or didn't disappear, minimized during that time. And then you come back into 21, 22, we're back in school full time. I don't think we'd eliminated masks at that point, but we were very sensitive to any sickness whatsoever, go home. So that probably is a contributor there. Is it a 10-point contributor? I don't know, but I would be curious, 22, 23, does that go back down or does that stay consistent?
So 22, 23, you have the separate chart, and the reason it's not on the
Oh, is
bar
there
chart is because it's not yet published in the state report card. We'll get that state report card this fall, but it will have the 22. I realize we made that a little bit more confusing than it
Oh,
needed
so the
to be.
22,
Yeah.
the separate 22 one is the 22-23 year?
Yeah,
Okay,
and the
all right.
22-23 school year is not on the bar graph.
Gotcha,
We
okay, I didn't.
We could have put it on there based on this
Yep,
data. Really,
that's
like,
okay.
yeah.
I did
But I
not.
mean, we're
Please,
still,
yeah,
I
state
mean,
report card.
yes, 100%. The masks came off.
Yeah.
The masks did a lot of good things, considering I have 2 kids at home with sniffles and like random low-grade fevers for the first month of school. I mean, that's like a simple public health situation. Like, masks went away, everybody got sick, and we were high alert for like, Patty calls me when my husband calls a kid out of school. Patty calls me and says, what's going on? What symptoms do they have? So and then it was the wait to do a COVID test, stay home. Even if the doctor said strep, go back and go get a COVID test. Like, keep them at home. Like this. And the siblings were staying home. So I mean, yes, exactly.
Right, the whole family earlier. I mean, not last year.
The
You
year
didn't have to
before.
stay home, right?
Yeah,
When your
but I
sibling
one in
did stuff, yeah.
preschool and one in
Yeah.
what year was that?
Yeah.
4th grade, 3rd grade, I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, there was a lot of mandated stay at home. And I think that like I keep saying this at work too, because we say it to our students, like, there is no scenario anymore where it's okay to come to your site or come to school or whatever when you're sick. Like,
Yeah.
don't do, I mean, for us it's patient care,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
you can't, we gotta not do that. And that's what that worries me a little bit with the concept of, like the perfect attendance awards and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like, those kids came to school sick, and
Yeah,
they did.
yeah,
Like,
yes, yeah,
so
right.
what? So you were
Right.
here and you were sick
Right.
and you were miserable and you made other people sick.
Right.
So I like the idea of like incentivizing, like, you're here. That's awesome, but I think that it's probably a much, now that like Patty doesn't care as much if my kids have a COVID test or not. If I say, listen,
She
this
still
is all it is.
cares. but
She
not-
cares, but like, she's not like, you gotta
Yeah,
send me a picture of it.
Yeah.
Like, and I know, I'll test them, it's not COVID, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, we have a little bit less of those mandates. It's gonna
Yeah.
get a little bit more like, yes, my kids have had sniffles and kennel cough for
Yeah.
3 weeks, and I'm still
Yeah.
sending them to school. They're
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, but I appreciate all the commentary. I think we'll continue to monitor it through the SEL action team, key performance indicator around attendance, and I think publishing it specifically is not just attendance, even though we can probably do the math in reverse, but really looking at the chronic absentee numbers. I appreciate, Dan, the idea of like looking at some of the other districts in our area. Definitely intrigued and interested in that idea. Something the principals will continue to talk about. And just anecdotally and sort of that sense of things is, yes, it was COVID, yes, it was illness, but there's something more.
Yeah.
There's something, I think this conversation we're hearing about mental health or just, we all joke about, you went to school no matter what, right? And some of the conversation has been, and I'm not saying Riverside, I'm saying, but I think it can be, we're part of society, and I'm sure it's true here too, just this idea that like, you did okay not being in school during the pandemic, and you read your book or you did your assignment, and so maybe going today is not critical, right? And so, Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean,
Somebody on the Board of Education, so.
but I think
Yeah.
to where I was trying to go is that now you do have 2 years at about 14%. So I'd be really curious in tracking that a little bit closer for this year, just because 3 years, I think that now you're starting to get into a trend. If it's 14, 14, 14, what happened post COVID that's causing that? So,
Yeah.
and it's not a small, it's 230 kids.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
and
good amount.
Yeah, and that sort of factor of doubling is, I think, just becomes very, gives one pause, so.
But
Yep.
what you said about the message from like nursing staff kind of changing, I think is important, because I think everybody is still in that mode of like,
Yeah.
you have sniffles.
We don't want you to have the
I don't want you
fever,
getting
we don't
sent
want the
home.
bug.
I don't,
Yeah.
especially
Right.
like you don't want to send your kid to school and then go to work and then be like, just kidding, I have to go back and get
Right,
my
right,
kid. So
right.
I think that's a good message to get
Yeah.
out to folks to say, listen, it's fevers, it's vomiting, it's diarrhea,
Yeah.
positive COVID test.
Yeah. No, this is, I appreciate the conversation, and we will continue to keep a close eye on it, and not just keep an eye on it, but really supporting and intervening as needed. I'll jump on. The Village of Brookfield, as I think most of the Board of Education knows, the Village, and it was, I think, just in the landmark, they've applied for a grant on safe routes to school, and the Village of Riverside did not, and that's Riverside's decision. They feel, again, like just the way they're budgeting and the way they're addressing sort of safe routes to school in other ways, they didn't feel that the grant was a necessary step right now. I had put this on the board agenda just to share with all of you, because we are asking Hollywood families to participate in a voluntary survey about how they get to and from school. I wrote a letter of support for the Brookfield grant, so I feel like in doing that, I wanted to make sure that the board was aware. And since then, I think it's become just a bit more of a conversation in the community. People are interested in, what more could be done to improve safe walking and biking routes to school.
Was there a concrete proposal on if they got this grant, what they would do with it?
I think it's sidewalk repairs, what sort of was first stated, and it's $250,000, I think, so it's, again, not knowing exactly how village budgets work, there's probably not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, so I think they're looking to do what they could, comfortably do with the money, so.
But not the land bridge over First Avenue.
Not the land bridge over First Avenue, that's,
Wasn't there also something about flashing stop signs?
I didn't see that, but I
I think it was one of the parents.
an idea from somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was, and I think that makes so much more sense than like, Brookfield needs to do something with the sidewalks anyway. Like, why would you use a grant for kids to get safely to school when there are other things that they could do?
Yeah,
like
it's hard,
repair
I don't want to
sidewalks.
speak for the village, I don't want to speak for their budgeting process or their public works process, but I felt it felt comfortable to me, it felt appropriate that when they ask for our support, that this is something that we can support them with.
And it's 25,000, minimum of 25,000, maximum of 250.
Right, they don't even know if they would get the 250 then.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's and so it has to be within that range. You get one project per school district, and I can't remember what some of the other stipulations were, but the Landmark actually just published an article. I read it today. I don't know when it was actually published, but they had mentioned quoted some of the parents about even with flashing signs, like cars are still blowing through, and so just concerns with certain intersections and stuff like that over there. So I don't think, I'm trying to think, we don't.
Brookfield touches actually 4 different school districts, so sort of just
Yeah,
imagining the different.
so it's not just
routes.
Hollywood,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
some of the other
Yeah.
places too.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to think about Hollywood specifically. I think most of the roads and sidewalks around there are in pretty good condition from what I paid attention
Yeah,
to
they
anyway.
were all
but
just redone
were they?
in Hollywood,
Okay.
yeah. Not
So,
the roads were. And we have one crossing guard. But I could see near Gross and, there's, Yeah.
To your point.
yeah, yeah.
If Brookfield can get money for a grant, then they can use money that they would have otherwise spent on a sidewalk repair and use it for some other fix. So it does increase the amount of money
Yeah.
they have available to do certain things.
that was the other thing. It has to be within 2 miles of the school in which you are saying that it is enhancing. So
Yes.
it's really targeted. And so I think my assumption, again, I don't want to speak for the village either, but my assumption is exactly what Joel said is, let's spend state money here and our money where we don't have state money, which is honestly totally what I would do if I was in that position.
And
So
villages tend to have tighter infrastructure budgets than anybody else.
Yeah. Okay.
They just have a lot of competing demands.
But I think it's a good point that was brought up. We're just one of 4.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
And the outreach was because Hollywood was in our school district, just asking for. So
The
I think
support.
Yeah,
The support and the
yeah.
information coming from families who participate in the survey.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to share that. And then Central Hauser Exterior, we are actually, DLA, I just talked to them today also, they're going to come to the October Board of Education meeting and provide more of an update on all the plans that are really are coming together, but there's still some pieces. We are going to do the playground visioning activity with Central School students on October 3rd, or the 3rd. And then the parents on the 18th. Actually, the kids are going to give input to kind of the design process, and then parents are going to have a chance to see it and give some additional feedback. So, so that's exciting. Things feel like they are moving along. I think we have been talking about this project for how many years?
A long time.
A long time.
We need to call Linda, which she'll tell us how long we've been talking about it. Can you take pictures of the kids, like some of their ideas and stuff?
Yeah.
Because I remember participating in some capacity with the Ames for sure.
And you came to Hollywood, I remember.
Yeah, Hollywood,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what it was, yeah. And it was very interesting watching and listening to the kids and like seeing some of their ideas and not just from their perspective, but how their perspective actually leaned a lot into the same perspective as the adults and the architects.
Yeah.
But just their lens of why they got there is very different.
Yeah.
And so if there's anything you could share on that, it'd be kind of fun to take a look at.
I think last time they created video, so which would
Did
be
they?
even
Okay.
better. So and I think we watched it here. If I
We
remember.
might
I
have actually, now that you
remember
say
that.
that, yeah.
Yeah, around play. They have great ideas. I have a feeling some of those ideas are universal. I did ask if they could have a zip line at Central, and DLA sort of from just said the playground would be bigger than Hollywood's, but wouldn't be as big as Ames.
Okay.
So somewhere in between.
As far as like the footprint. that
Yeah,
we-
yeah. So just in that then determines how much equipment can
Right.
fit in there. So, and then last but not least on the superintendent report is I want to congratulate the Board of Education on getting the Illinois Association of School Boards Governance Recognition Award. So. Thanks to everybody. I think it's an honor well deserved. And Dan, I think you had brought this up a year or two ago, and then when the woman from the Illinois Association of School Boards met with all of you this summer, she said, you know, you really should apply for this, and that was kind of already even in the works. But I think a lot of it is as the application, literally putting the pieces together, and thanks to Kathy Perino, who worked through the details of the actual putting together of the application. I think a lot of it related to the strategic plan and truly the living of the strategic plan. So thank you all for the early development around that, the ongoing commitment to it, and congratulations.
Yeah. This is a much bigger deal than I originally understood, I think. And when Lori reached out to us to say there was 45 districts that got this, I wasn't sure. I knew there was a few hundred districts in Illinois. There's 852 districts in Illinois. So 5% of the districts in Illinois actually, well, I don't know how many applied,
Right.
but of all the districts, only 5% of them actually have this little tag or whatever that we can put on there. So
I think you're
that,
going to get a plaque. I think at that conference.
yeah, we're going to
Ask
get
if there was a
something
trophy.
delivered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a plaque. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to make sure it's right here so that
Yeah,
every board
yeah,
meeting,
yeah,
everybody can
yeah,
see
yeah,
it. But I was kind of blown away by that. I was expecting that number to be a lot higher because I just sort of assumed many districts have good governance. And so again, I don't know how many people actually applied, but I was just kind of shocked at how few people actually have it right now. So I also think, kind of reflecting on that too, a lot of the stuff is Kathy was like pinging me and what is it, how's this look, how's this feel, all that kind of stuff. There was a lot of improvements that we have made in the last 2 or 3 years, I would say, even of just like continuing to enhance ourselves, that I don't think we could have checked some of those boxes, or at least not as detailed as we were now. So I wouldn't say we wouldn't have gotten it 2 years ago if we had applied, but definitely we were in a better position. So I would also say like kudos to this group of just like always being self-reflective and how we continue to continuously improve ourselves and our collaboration and like that self-governance piece that's really expected or needed, because we are the top of the food chain here. So yeah, kudos to all of you for participating in that and continuing to make us function well. It's always good when government functions well.
Yes.
That's right. All right, that's it for the superintendent's report.
Cool. Okay, that moves us into the consent agenda. So could the board secretary please read the consent agenda for tonight?
Yeah, tonight's consent agenda consists of minutes of the following previous meetings. We have the August 2nd Committee of the Whole meeting, our August 16th closed session, our first session, as well as our second session on August 16th. And then that same August 16th, our regular business meeting. The personnel report as presented, the payables pre-list as of August 31st, the payables pre-list as of September 20th, the West 40 school safety contract, the review of the closed session minutes of the previous 6 months, the Ed Red dues with the 3 to 5 year overview, and the employment information system administrator and teacher salary and benefits report from 2023. So lots of items.
Thank you. Are there any items that anyone would like to remove or any questions about anything before we vote?
Not to remove, just a question, I think more for public consumption on the teacher salary and benefits, the amount listed under other benefits, I presume that's healthcare, health insurance, those numbers is under other, like the column that says other benefits amount?
I'm sorry, Jim. That's what?
Mostly health insurance would be
Okay.
the biggest part of it.
That's what I assumed.
Just a comment, Wesley, and that's, I'm really glad we're able to take advantage of the West 40 offerings. That's the cost that we get the services at is really advantageous to us, and the services they've been providing, from what Martha has described, have been very appropriate for what we need. Nothing's overkill. We're getting what we want. The school safety audits, again, they have real professionals doing the work. They're not just doing this on a lark. They're intending to really professionalize their offerings.
That was the one question I was going to ask, because there's not a definitive number on that contract. There are some definitive numbers on there, but there's also some hourly rates. So the way I added it up, it looks like it's a minimum of $18,000 with the flexibility of the hourly rates, just depending on how much we need to use them. Is that kind of the structure of the purpose of their time?
Right. And I think to Joel's point, it's feels like very appropriate, sort of. Not excessive costs. We are having them do a safety assessment at each of our schools. That's actually already in process. Just met with them. They're doing an update on like some of our crisis plan, what we call a flip chart, like the information that's available in each and every classroom to make sure that it's 100% consistent. They're actually going to do a training for all of our school secretaries and district office support staff around just visitor management as well, and dealing with potentially a difficult, or disruptive visitor, and bomb threat procedures and how to handle things like that could come up. Hopefully never do come up. But so yeah, I think they're this opportunity to offer this through West 40 in a way that's consistent to any of our West Cook regional school districts that are interested, right? So you pay this additional fee. It's not a requirement. There are requirements around health, life, safety that they do. They make sure we're doing our fire drills and our all of that. But this is really above and beyond that. And what we also anticipate is bringing this information then to all of you. It is an allowable closed session item.
Yeah.
So I anticipate that more conversation would be closed session in the future.
I was going to end with that. Is we usually don't have a lot of discussion around these topics because they're usually cut and dry. But for this one, just with it not being a finite number, I just want to call that out. And the public isn't going to hear a ton about this because it is security and sensitive information about the security of our schools and stuff like that. So most of this continuing conversation will probably be enclosed with light updates, relatively high-level updates on improvements or progress here. So, okay. Are we ready to vote? Okay. Oh, that's right. I do need to make a motion. Is there a motion that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Kathy, can you call the roll?
Okay. Ms. Claps?
Aye.
Mr. Marhol?
Aye.
Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Ms. Gunn?
Aye.
Ms. Kalick?
Aye.
Mr. Muirhead?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, we move into board member comments. Anybody have anything you want to bring up?
We were just talking a little bit before the start of the meeting. For those of us that have sixth graders this year here at Hauser, it's just really great to see that they were able to bring back the sixth grade trip that many have known as the kind of, I think it was Laredo Taft that went. So a really great opportunity for them to, get to know each other early in the school year. And my daughter assures me there will be learning. But yes, it seems like a large number of our sixth graders participate in that tonight, and they'll be back Friday. So kudos to the district, everyone at, the staff and at Hauser that kind of brought this back for this year. I think it's really important.
My daughter does not use insurance. But I'm sure there will be learning.
Yes. Yes.
Anybody else?
It's great starting off the new school year. It seems to be, at least at Blythe Park, there's a lot of parent interaction with the kids every morning, which is great to see. I think I read something recently that if you say hello to 6 neighbors, you're healthier, and if you say say hello to 11 neighbors, you make more money too. So I'm ticking off the boxes every morning of how many I've said hello to.
New neighbors or can it be repeat neighbors?
No, they're repeat. Just
Okay.
It resets every day.
All right. Okay. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
The only comment I wanted to make was I might almost hand this over to you so I don't misspeak this, but there's a opportunity that was presented for some DEI training that's going to be going on around schools. It's one of the consultants we're using, but this isn't specific to our district, but there was an outreach for any board members that would want to attend and just have kind of an overview of what that training looks like. It's just a 2-hour Zoom meeting that I'm planning on attending. So Kathy, I guess this is my official response to you that I'd like to attend if that message hadn't got to you yet. I think Dave and Stephanie were going to join as well. They suggested no more than 3, but if more than 3 wanted to join, they'd figure it out around OMA and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, just wanted to kind of highlight in case for the rest of the board members. I don't know who was aware, who wasn't aware that was actually going to occur. So the 3 of us will be joining that, and then we'll kind of give a overview report out of what we got out of it or what we learned from it at a future board meeting. So just more of a heads up.
Choice on their part of scheduling it on a Saturday morning. That's a great way to
At 8 a.m. Yeah.
Definitely kept me out.
The timing wasn't great, but I'm interested just to hear kind of what they're going to be presenting in more detail to staff.
Sounds very interesting.
Because I think it's related to the staff trainings that are going on.
Yeah, so we're doing training with our administrative team, and actually the session that we had our first session last Wednesday, and she said, by the way, this session is the same session that the Board of Education members will have on Saturday, October 14th.
Oh, it is identical.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, all right.
That intro session, she's going to work with us over 9 sessions, or 9 hours. So you'll get a 2-hour, which is what we had it was really good. It was really well done. I like her a lot. I think, so for those of you who are attending, I think you'll appreciate it.
Yeah, and I've done a number of these things in different capacities, and really it's just, I'm sure they're going to focus in on a targeted DE&I type stuff, same stuff like corporate America is kind of going through right now, but really when it comes to that diversity and inclusivity piece of it, I mean, we talk about inclusion all the time here in different capacities, so it is a very broad topic that's being brought, so I'm curious their lens on that based on other things that I've consumed in the past, so. All right, any other comments before we move on? Okay. Then into old business, we have the first item is the resolution of transferring funds from the educational fund to the capital projects fund. So I don't have a specific motion, so is there a motion to approve the resolution transferring funds from the educational fund to the capital projects fund in the amount of $3.8 million.
So moved.
Second.
Kathy, can you call the roll?
Mr. Marhol?
Aye.
Ms. Claps?
Aye.
Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Ms. Gunn?
Aye.
Ms. Kalick?
Aye.
Mr. Muirhead?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And the last item, new business, is the school lunches sales report, or served report, sorry. I guess we should look at it as served, not sales, right? We're not a business, so.
Thanks. So the new lunch program is off to a pretty good start. We've gotten some positive feedback from principals. We've been able to serve reimbursable meals at all the schools, so that was one of the big items to check off. We created IDs for each student, which they turn in when they get their meals, so that speeds the lines up pretty well, or each student in elementary schools. We've been able to serve fresh fruits and vegetables most days, so they have the option for that. In your board packet, I created a report that just kind of tallies the meals that were served, and as you read across, it's the month, so I'll keep filling that out as the year goes on, and it'll be in the board book under information items. We'll create a place to put it there every month. Yes, that's it for now.
So is this is the number of meals, correct? Because you just have days per across the top, so it's just 7
Yeah.
days in that month, and then that's how many meals.
So I've got August filled in there, and that was 7 days in August.
And of those 7 days, 2,425 total meals were served in those 7 days.
Right.
Is any indication of how much? Like, is that
The-
a bump, a big bump, a little bump, any bump?
It looks similar to what we did last year. We didn't really count the ones out in the other schools, but
Yeah.
when you look at the number of free reduced, it's probably the same. So I haven't seen a big improvement in it, but we'll make sure we do a thorough job of tracking it now, so we can compare as the year goes on.
Okay. And then the student purchased. I mean, that's purely new because those students didn't have an opportunity.
They
in the
could
past,
at
right?
Central and Hauser. They could before.
Oh, that's okay. True. So Hollywood, Blythe, and Ames, those would be completely new
Right.
meals served.
That's a new
Okay.
option.
I mean, that seems pretty good for the first 7 days of the
Yeah,
school
it's
year.
hopefully it looked nice and smooth for
Yeah.
everybody, but it was a little chaotic behind the scenes.
I tell you, my kids are into it a lot more. Like, I thought they'd be okay with it, but like every day, like, nah, I'm getting lunch at school. So I don't know if it's because it's easier on them or if they really like it, but they seem to enjoy it. Because I
Yeah, it
ask
was-
every day, and like they call out the things they liked and didn't like.
It was
and,
nice for me to be out at Blythe Park, and I don't really see the students too often in my office, so
yeah.
Handing them some milk and keeping the lines moving. So I enjoyed that. They all seem pretty happy, especially with the chocolate milk.
And I want to thank Jim, Business Office Coordinator Michaela Miller, but Angela, Nora, everybody, especially that first week or so, was spending time in the schools at lunch just to make sure that things were going smoothly, which I think meant handing out identification cards and serving milk and
Right.
and all of that. So it was a good team effort. Just I think everyone was very invested, obviously, in it working and it being smooth. That everyone, I think, principals were almost, were pleasantly surprised that it's not as hard as it maybe at first felt, because handing kids a QR code or whatever, and having it all work, it's going.
I mean, it feels like an early indication that we've achieved the goal. I don't want to call it achieved yet, but
Right.
in the first 7 days, it looks like it's being executed the way we were hoping. So
We're not mathematically eliminated from getting the goal yet, so we're on track.
Yeah, and we'll see. I know people keep saying when the hot food comes, and I'm like, right now, we'll see. Like,
Yeah.
the cold
Yeah.
food's working. I'm
Yeah.
glad your kids like it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
all right.
All right, thank you.
And that is it. Do we have, I'm going to assume we have no additional public comment. Okay. Future meeting dates are October 4th, 2023, Committee of the Whole, 7 p.m. That will be at Hollywood School Multipurpose Room. October 18th, 2023, for our regular business meeting here at 7 p.m. in the Hauser Learning Resource Center. And those are the only two we have on here. And that is it. So meeting adjourned.